Right, so we're going to try and express sine 240 degrees as a trig ratio with an acute angle. So I draw on an angle of 240 degrees onto my cast diagram and have a look at what angle that makes with the x-axis. So it makes an angle of 60 degrees with the x-axis, which means I will use an angle of 60 degrees. Now I have a look, and using my cast rules, I can see that in this quadrant sine should be negative, so it will be negative sine 60. So this time we're going to have a look at sine negative 80. So I'm going to draw an angle of negative 80 degrees, which is down here. Okay. So the angle it makes with the x-axis is 80. Again, in this quadrant, sine is negative, which means that I'm using an acute angle of 80 degrees, and because it's in a negative sine quadrant, it's got to be negative sine 80. Right, so this time I'm going to look at sine of negative 200. I draw an angle of negative 200 in. It makes an angle of 20 degrees with the x-axis. So the angle I want is 20 degrees. And in this quadrant, sine is positive, so it'll be just sine 20 degrees. Right, so this time we have sine 300 degrees. Draw 300 degrees over here. Makes an angle of 60 degrees. The x-axis. So the angle we'll be looking for 60 degrees. Again, sine is negative in this quadrant, so it'll be negative sine 60. Right, so sine 460 degrees goes all the way around, and then on its second turn, it will go as far as 100 degrees here. So I've got an angle of 80 degrees here. Sine is positive in this quadrant, so it's just equal to sine 80 degrees. Have a look at one of the cos questions. For example, cos of negative 50 degrees. Draw an angle of negative 50 degrees here. Makes an angle of 50 degrees with the x-axis, and cos is positive in this quadrant, so that's equal to cos 50. And if we look at a tan, so for example, tan 100 degrees, draw 100 degrees in. Again, this is 80 here. Okay, so the acute angle I want is 80 degrees. In this quadrant, tan is negative, so it'll be negative tan 80. So the last one I'll show you is one with radians instead of degrees, so it's cosine negative 3 pi over 4. So I draw an angle of negative 3 pi over 4. Remember, this is pi over 2, so 3 pi over 4 is over here, which makes an angle of pi over 4. So 180 degrees is pi with the x-axis. So you've got pi over 4 right there. So my answer is going to have an angle of pi over 4 in it. It's cosine, and cosine is negative in this quadrant, so it's negative cos pi over 4.